In a dramatic turn of events, President Trump's ambitious push for peace in Ukraine seems to have crashed head-on into an impenetrable barrier erected by the Kremlin, leaving global observers wondering if true resolution is slipping further away. Imagine a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings spanning continents, involving key players from the United States, Europe, Russia, and Ukraine, all aimed at forging a path to end the devastating war. Yet, despite this frenetic activity, the Kremlin has made it abundantly clear they're not budging on their core demands. No concessions, no compromises, just a steadfast insistence on terms that align perfectly with their vision. This unflinching stance has effectively blocked any momentum toward a swift agreement, turning what was hoped to be a breakthrough into a frustrating standstill. But here's where it gets controversial. The 28-point peace plan endorsed by the U.S., which many viewed as a blueprint for Ukraine's capitulation. If you're new to this, think of it as a detailed proposal that some critics argue would force Ukraine to surrender significant autonomy and territories, much like waving a white flag in defeat. While Kyiv and its European partners successfully pushed back against this, it's become painfully evident that any solution palatable to Ukraine would likely face outright rejection from Moscow. It's a classic catch-22 in international negotiations, finding common ground when positions are worlds apart. Take, for instance, the words of Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov when queried on Wednesday about an imminent deal. He dismissed the idea as premature, signaling zero flexibility. His counterpart, Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, flatly denied claims that Russia had softened its stance, directly contradicting President Trump's assertions. And Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov didn't mince words. Any proposal not excluding Ukraine from NATO, ceding land to Russia, and restricting the Ukrainian military's size would be dismissed immediately. To drive the point home, Kremlin propagandist Sergei Martin, in a statement broadcast on state media, proclaimed that the only viable outcome was nothing short of Ukraine's dismantlement as an independent nation. For beginners, this highlights how entrenched Russia's goals are, essentially aiming to redraw borders and neutralize Ukraine's defenses, which sparks intense debate about sovereignty and self-determination in global affairs. And this is the part most people miss. Behind the scenes, Ukrainian officials might have been playing a strategic game. Analysts suggest their participation in these talks with the U.S. wasn't just about genuine negotiation. It was a calculated move to keep President Trump from turning against President Zelensky. As Mykola Bieliskov, a top analyst at the charity Come Back Alive, which supports Ukrainian troops, put it on social media, the whole point of jumping into the Donald Trump peace process for Ukraine is to dodge accusations of sabotaging it. He added, "Everyone gets it, but we all pretend otherwise. I feel for our side having to endure this charade. This adds a layer of intrigue, showing how diplomacy can sometimes be about optics and damage control rather than pure idealism." Meanwhile, even as the U.S. no longer directly funds Ukraine's aid, it continues to provide crucial military intelligence that empowers Kyiv's deep strikes into Russian territory. Plus, America sells weapons to Ukraine's allies, who then pass them on, and supplies Patriot missiles vital for defending the capital. But here's a bombshell. The White House hinted on Tuesday that such sales to NATO nations couldn't go on indefinitely. Many interpreted this as a veiled warning, that if Zelensky doesn't sign on to a deal soon, the flow of essential arms could dry up, potentially leaving Ukraine vulnerable. Things get even thornier with leaked phone conversations from October between Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, and Kremlin insiders. In one revealing exchange, Witkoff expressed the deepest respect for President Putin, drawing parallels to a 20-point Gaza agreement and suggesting Putin publicly commend Trump's Middle East diplomacy. The transcript, shared by Bloomberg, shows Ushakov agreeing that Putin would call Trump a real peaceman. Russia has repeatedly framed the conflict as a mission to pull Ukraine back into its sphere of influence, but the leaks reveal Witkoff's belief that Putin could be swayed with concessions like handing over Donetsk and possibly trading other lands. Boldly put, this raises eyebrows and fuels debate. Is Witkoff a savvy diplomat or too cozy with the opposition? Critics within the Republican Party have slammed him hard. Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick decried the leaks as evidence of ridiculous sideshows and secret meetings that were hampering official efforts led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Fellow Republican Congressman Don Bacon went further, accusing Witkoff of acting like he's on Russia's payroll and demanding his removal. Even a commentator like Roger Boyes argued that Putin had outmaneuvered Witkoff, calling for his dismissal. Unsurprisingly, the Kremlin pushed back. Ushakov labeled the leak unacceptable, but didn't dispute its veracity, hinting it might be a conspiracy by Witkoff's U.S. foes. Peskov echoed this, claiming the calls for firing Witkoff were designed to derail nascent peace efforts. Dmitriev dismissed it as a fake without proof. Witkoff, Trump's golfing buddy, has met Putin 5 times this year and is set for another Moscow trip soon. The saga continued with talks in places like Florida, Geneva, Kyiv, and Abu Dhabi, exploring various plans. Ushakov confirmed on Wednesday that Russia had received a revised proposal via unofficial channels, though he couldn't confirm its status. Meanwhile, President Putin, during a CSTO meeting in Kyrgyzstan, described the Ukraine conflict as complex, requiring equally intricate solutions. As we wrap this up, it's worth pondering. Is Trump's approach the bold leadership needed to end the bloodshed, or a risky gamble that hands too much power to Russia? And what about Ukraine's strategy? Smart pragmatism or futile participation? Do you think leaked calls expose genuine diplomacy or something more sinister? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your take and spark a conversation on this divisive topic.